Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Grace. This is also Grace, so it's very easy to remember. And we are here to have a very serious conversation with you today. I don't know if any of you are too aware of the threats that video content poses to your content strategy in 2025. I know we're starting to think about planning budgets, planning strategies, and I think this is a really important time to have this conversation. We're here to warn you of all the implications and impacts video content could have on your brand in 2025.
And you might be thinking, how did we even get here? Lots of brands are telling us you need to use video content. And over the Diary of a CEO, we've reached tens of millions of people every month through video content. But in all seriousness, it is a huge threat to your business.
So we're going to provide a risk warning at this point. Only continue if you are aware that you're going to be informed on a lot of potential risks that could come to your brand if you do engage with video content in an effective strategy in 2025. We're not joking here. The impact it can have on your marketing strategy is pretty profound. So into warning number one.
The first warning is that you're going to reach too many people. In fact, your video might go viral, and you might reach millions of people around the world, beyond your wildest expectations, and really you might be posting and think one person might see this, when it turns out 1 million people might actually see it. This meme made me laugh because Grace added it, and I'd never seen it before, but it's true. Through video content, we really don't realize putting up a video and the next minute you're getting millions of messages or DMs across your platforms because it's gone viral. And it happens to the best of us. We've seen it on our own platforms, but also on other platforms we've worked on or brands, where one post or an actual campaign might start off small, but just take off.
And video content is expected to account for 82% of all internet traffic by 2025. 87% of marketers agree that video increases brand awareness significantly. You have been warned. Sounds working. I first became aware of the real significant impact video can have on your brand when I came across this brand called Doughat. I was speaking with the team recently, and they were doing okay. They had footfall coming in. They were a donut bakery. They have shops in London. They have shops over the country. They were doing fine. They were doing good. And then they hired a social media manager. And she thought about this idea to create this video series where they ripped into donuts, like we just saw there. They take their donuts, which are full of these, like, it's not a promotion, they're just unbelievable, like delicious flavors, and they physically rip them apart. Next thing they knew, they had queues down the street. They were sold out of stock. They couldn't keep donuts on their shelves. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for your stock to sell out? Are you ready for queues to be forming? Are you ready to reach people who had never previously heard about your brand? It doesn't stop there either. It's a threat that goes across all industries and all businesses. TikTok made Columbia Road Christmas carols too popular last year. There were too many people aware about the event that they physically had to close it because of the threats it posed to crowd control and too many people turning up. So if you have an event, if you have a business, if you have something coming up, and you want to attract people and make it too popular, I'm going to suggest using video, but you've got to do it at your own cost and at your own risk.
The second warning we have is that you might actually convert an audience into a community. When we're posting a video, we're thinking, okay, people are going to view it, they're going to see it, they're going to scroll. But actually, when you're posting that video, it might turn out people want to stay. They want to be a part of your brand, watch your content, and form a relationship with the brand.
It turns out what happens when you start to turn an audience into a community is that they want more and more and more. They want to buy your products. They want to turn up to your events. They want to watch your content, and they expect more and more and more. And we're not sure everyone's ready for that. And it's a fair warning, because are you ready to give your community what they want? Because they get sticky. They get really sticky. Once you bring them in through that video funnel strategy, they're not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So you need to be prepared to serve them in the ongoing content strategy that you've got in your mix. Glossier is a great example of this. I don't know how many people in here are familiar with the brand Glossier, but they're a beauty brand, a makeup brand, and they've created a cult community following through their UGC strategy. So what they did is they incorporated their existing community into a viral video strategy, which created brand awareness, word of mouth, and grew their brand significantly through this single campaign. So what happens is they bring out a product, and again, it sells out because they incorporated this video-first strategy into reaching a community who will not leave them alone and want new stuff constantly. They can't keep stuff on the shelves because of this campaign. And similarly for Sephora. Sephora actually had to put the majority of their budget this year, their marketing budget, into community-based marketing because they built this thing, this community, who wouldn't leave them alone because of their video UGC content strategy as well.
And on that, it actually has proven 85% of marketers say video has built stronger brand loyalty for them, and over 80% of them, of consumers, are actually more likely to purchase their product because of that. So it poses the question, how do you build stronger brand loyalty within your companies or brands, or are you just happy for people to be a viewer and keep scrolling?
Look, we know it's a lot of information, so we just wanted to checkpoint at this point and check in and see if everyone's okay, because there's a lot of warnings, there's a lot of, information that's coming your way, and some of you might have already started planning your video content strategy in 2025 and you didn't know what you were getting yourselves into. But we want to provide you with all of the information so you can make very informed decisions about whether video should play a role in your strategy in 2025. There's 3 more warnings to go. Video warning number 3. There are too many experiments you can run when it comes to video content. The possibilities with video content are endless, giving you countless opportunities to test, optimize, and learn. But I'm not the data girly here. Our head of experimentation and failure is the one who needs to run you through this.
So I put together a little part of how we actually look at experiments, and there's 3 ways we kind of look at it, is to prove, improve, or compare what we're currently doing. So I took our friend JT Barnett, who is a content creator in the US, and he makes content about content creation. So telling people, how do you improve your content, how do you actually build a brand, and as all of it, build brand loyalty and community. So his normal type of content is the prove. He's sharing how to build community, create content. Looking into this, if you were to prove, it would be looking at what you're currently doing, what's working, what's not, and understanding how do you move from there. The improve part is where you're adding a new lane, so you're trying something new aside from your current content. So in his case, he's still related it to his content creation, community, brand building, but he's actually advising, these are the products you should be using on how to create content. So he's trialing a new platform, a new strategy, but still within the same sphere or brand. And the third one is compare. So A/B testing, multivariate testing, test and compare. So looking at what are the 2 different things within your content you can compare against each other. And in his case, one of the examples I picked was his cover images on Instagram. So he does lots of different styles. He'll change if you scrolled through his feed, and comparing how do they perform against each other, what gets more clicks when people are actually coming to his page. But it doesn't stop there. It actually goes on to from compare test to content experiments. So this is where it actually becomes endless, because where do you start and where do you stop? I had a look at Gymshark's current content on their pages and did a little bit of an analysis into what they're doing. So they're testing short form and long form content. So they're looking at short form on TikTok and Instagram, where you've got the short, snappy content, compared to long form, where they're targeting an audience that are more willing to sit there, actually want to engage, and really take it as entertainment pieces, where it's not actually focused around the product as such, but it's more for entertainment. There's high production versus lo-fi and UGC. So is there something where you're doing a full brand campaign versus something a bit more lo-fi, people are seeing it in their feeds regularly? They'll actually engage in different ways. So it's understanding how can you test those different forms of content. Educational and humorous. So what happens there? Are you selling your product and doing hard selling through telling people what it is? Or are you making it more humorous and being this is our product in the content, but actually it's for a different purpose? subtitles, no subtitles, pretty self-explanatory, but hopefully you know that subtitles is the way to go, but you should experiment with it yourself because we know lots of people don't actually have the sound on when you're watching video content, so we want to make sure that they can actually still engage. Product-focused versus subtle product placement. So I quite like this one of, are you actually showing your product and saying this is what it does, versus is it just in the image or in the, sorry, not image, video content. Is it in the video and people are seeing it and it's in the back of their mind but not a hard sell. And the last one, obviously, color and black and white, a small thing you can play around with, but understanding what performs best for you. But it actually doesn't stop there. Not only do we have the experiments, but we should actually be delving deeper into what is on the platforms. So what are the new features every platform is running that you can be the first ones to try that and actually have first mover advantage against other people? So on here, I put a few different features on platforms. If you haven't seen them, you probably need to be delving deeper into the platforms or just looking at like news sites, because lots of all the like social media marketing news sites share about these. The first one is actually the comments on Instagram stories. So if you're sharing your video content on there, how can you encourage your followers, or as we say, community, to be commenting on there and being a part of it? The one at the top is the AI voice feature on TikTok. So they've allowed you to input your voice and it can create an AI voice out of your own voice. That would really speed up our actual video creation process. Not only time, but save us a lot of money as well, because we're not having to sit there and edit. The second one underneath that is courses on YouTube. So they've launched video courses. Are you using that? Are you not? How can we be using that? If there's not as many people using it right now, so could you be the first one to jump on that and actually have a first mover advantage? The Wave one is on X, or previously Twitter, and they're allowing long form content now. So if we're taking our short form content, or if we have other long form content, how can we be repurposing it, not just on YouTube, which was seen as the long form platform, but on the likes of Twitter, or X, sorry. And then the final one is Snapchat. So they always have a lot of different new features, but this one is the multi-use camera. So you've got both ways of the camera at the same time. Could that play into a different strategy you're using? And then one that actually came up yesterday for YouTube, which is worth looking into, was their Made on YouTube conference, where they're launching a heap of new features across their platform, which actually relate to a lot of the warnings we've told you today. So the first one is community. They're launching a community hub where you can really engage with your, as I was going to say fan base, but community on there. And that's a huge part of what we've said around building video. The second is hyped. So instead of just the viral video content tiers, or no, charts, they're launching a hype charts, which is for actual smaller creators, where people can upvote or hype videos they're interested in, and it builds a new chart of creators that might not be as big enough to get onto the trending list, but are able to have a new chart to be able to be discovered. The one on the far right is the dubbing feature. So they are launching an AI dubbing feature that makes content even easier. Instead of you having to learn French or Japanese or Spanish, it now dubs it for you, and you can literally click a button and it will dub all your videos at once. I sound like I'm selling YouTube, but it's just because I'm obsessed. I don't work for YouTube. And the final one is the Inspiration tab, which is already on YouTube. And they're actually building it even further for AI integration. So we'll give you options of AI titles, thumbnails, inspiration for videos, what hooks you could be using. So really, the warning is we don't actually have to think of any content ourselves, because the platforms are giving us all the ideas. So why are we not taking use of them? Is this me too? We know that 78% of consumers actually trust brands that create customized content. We know 44% of people learn about a new product via short video content, so the platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and we know that that has the highest return on investment for marketers. So really, when we think about it, if we're going to post a video, put no thought or strategy into who we're actually targeting, why are we putting it out there? It really needs to have that full emphasis on experiment and understand who is our audience and who are we targeting.
I mean, I think you need some water after all of that insight and data, because I am like overwhelmed myself with how many features and formats and updates there are. But I guess with all of those features, formats, updates that we can test and learn from, we're getting a lot of data as well. And I guess that goes into warning number 4, which is your data will be overflowing. Video generates a wealth of data that other forms of content can never compete with, offering deep insights that can enhance your marketing strategy. And I'm not the data girly, as you can probably tell. I'm like the marketing creative girly, if you've seen the TikTok trends. But TikTok is one platform that I do know. And my God, the wealth of data that you get from posting video content on there, it's completely overwhelming, but also fascinating, and also going to have the biggest impact on understanding who your target audience are. So this is in TikTok Studio. So let's start at the macro and then we'll zoom in. TikTok Studio, you are going to get your total for the month or the time period you select, your video views, your profile views, your likes, your comments, your shares, and this chart, which I love more than anything, where you see those moments of peak engagement, peak views, peak interest. Because what does that mean? You can dive into those moments, understand what's working, understand what's not working, and do more of what's working. So let's dive into what's working. If we delve a little bit deeper, we've actually got the lovely insights from Grace's F1 fan account, if anyone wants to go and follow afterwards. And if we take a look in, we can understand video by video what has performed for us this month. Why has it performed really well? What's the engagement? Who's coming to it? Who's new? And then we can go even deeper and view the data. And now we're getting video views. We're getting total playtime. We're getting average watch time, which is critical. How many people are actually making it through all the way through your video? If your video gets 1,000 likes, but the average view time is 6 seconds, and your message of your brand doesn't drop until 20 seconds in, that is not a successful piece of content. So that piece of that metric is phenomenal, and it's not the type of metric you can get from a carousel post, an email, a vlog, a blog, anything like this. A vlog you can. But what's really interesting here is the conversion as well. So if you are going over a growth strategy, if you're going for a reach strategy, if you're going for an engagement strategy, you can measure that with video insights. You can delve into the specifics of your KPIs of what you're trying to achieve in video. You can't do that in other forms of content in the same way. And I'm not really sure what happened here, Grace, because 398,000 views, but 91 conversion to follow. I'm going to guess this was a retention piece. I'm going to guess.
But it goes further as well this is still on TikTok, but it's understanding our audience. So we know we want to go viral. We want to create a community, but who are our community? And it's looking at those demographics. So it's saying, how old are they? Where do they live? Do they live in America? Do they live in Australia? Do they live in England? Or anywhere around the world, Latin America, how are we going to target them? And then also understanding what is the gender split as well. If you were Glossier, how would you target differently to if you were an F1 fan? But if we go on to the next slide, I'm going to delve, this tab, again, like YouTube, TikTok are actually giving us the insights into what you should be making content around. So they're showing you all the top performing content, they're showing you where the content gaps are, and where you could be actually reaching new audiences. So if you're not using that, it's definitely one to get on. My brother, who's actually here, gave us a little bit of insight into his Instagram profile, because it's hard to get real data nowadays unless you're sharing your own profile. But he creates football and food content, and we did a little bit of delving into understand how does his audience work, what are they doing, how do we improve what his current strategy is. So on the far left-hand side here, that's the main overview you get in Instagram. It's understanding how many views are you getting a month, what actual content are you creating, and you can see Reels is his top one, which is fantastic because it's video content, which is what we want to be doing. Even understanding, you can see that circle there, hopefully everyone can see it, the split between followers and non-followers, which is super important because we want to know we have a lot of followers engaging with our content, but also a healthy amount of non-followers so that we're still reaching new audiences. We don't want all of our content just to be our followers and not reaching anyone new. As you go further along, you'll see that we get we get into the actual content on his platform, so on his page, understanding what content is performing the best. Specifically in the middle, on his actual Reels, you can look at the views and see, okay, we can see a lot of food content, specifically in bowls, featured around breakfast food. We know that that's what his audience is engaging with. How do we harness that more? Or his best performing video, which goes on, is a marathon video. So people are wanting something with grit, something with actual action that they want to be able to feel an emotion with. So if we know that that performs, how do we make more content around that style of content around that style of content, really. But if we go into it deeper on that page as well, as Grace said before on TikTok, you can see how many people are playing it, how long are they watching for, and are you actually getting what you want across before people drop off, or are they dropping off and you're going, okay, didn't get what I want across, didn't get a follow, and didn't actually get any engagement. So what was the point in the piece of content? But it goes even further on the next slide into YouTube, which, in case you hadn't guessed, is maybe one of my favorite platforms because it's what I talk about the most. And understanding how does our video content from social media channels also perform in long form. And you can obviously take long form to social media channels, and how do you work with that? So we took Mr. Beast. This is all public content on public analytics online. And YouTube is a great platform because you can see very in-depth analytics of followers and non-followers, how your retention's going, are people holding through the video, are they dropping off in certain points? So you might run an ad, and you might see people skip the ad. So should you be changing the ad, making it more engaging for people to stay along? But on the next slide, you'll be able to see exactly how many experiments he's running. So we can see on the right-hand side, Mr. Beast is A/B testing his thumbnails, which is the exact example we gave in warning 3 of how you should be experimenting more. And he's doing exactly that. And it's probably why he is the biggest YouTuber in the world right now, because he's constantly experimenting, he knows his audience, and he targets them through all the analytics. He's probably one of the people that I've listened to the most who always deep dives into things like this and understanding his audience. And I explained it a little bit before, but this slide is what you should be using if you're using YouTube, is understanding the inspiration. So YouTube tells you what is missing on the platform. So it literally says right there what people are looking for. They're telling you what to make content around because they don't have content about that on their platform. So you should be targeting that and saying, okay, we know they're missing this. Let's trial this content and see if it gets pushed in the algorithms. Definitely something to check out if you're using YouTube. I'll do it. And we know that Reels, of course, see an average reach rate of over 30%, which is double the reach of any other content on the platform of Instagram. And it has 2 times more impressions than other posts like still posts. And on TikTok, we see 38% more engagement of content with people. So if we're talking about experimenting, we're learning about the analytics, we want to go, okay, maybe instead of just a product post next time, I'm going to try a post with my face in it if I feel comfortable enough. Or you could actually use AI to create an AI person to market your content for you as well. It really, I cannot explain enough how the opportunities are so endless.
I mean, I'm definitely overloaded with the amount of insight, experimentation, data opportunity that video provides. But it's not only that, like, what do we do when we've got all that data and information from the video? We can use it to inform every other channel in our media mix for our strategy going forward. We can take the insights that we gain from video that we can't get from other platforms in the same way, understanding user behavior, understanding the topics that resonate, understanding the topics that convert, and we can bring it into our wider strategy to keep testing and learning. It's overwhelming, and this is what we're saying, like, only get into it if you really, really do want to understand your community and audience more than anyone else. And we'll go into warning number 5. Your brand could become too memorable. Compelling video content can make your brand unforgettable, boosting recall and loyalty. People who've never heard about you, your business, your brand, are suddenly going to know about you, and they're not going to be able to forget. And when I think about video content and the campaigns that have stuck with me, and I think about throughout not just this year, but my whole lifetime, there's one that I always come back to. And there's a really interesting marketing story that comes with it, but I think a few of you are going to recognize it. We'll just play it now, if that works. If not, I will sing the song. Ooh. I wasn't planning to share the whole thing, but I didn't have control over the pause. What's really interesting about this is the creative director has done many an interview after producing that advert, because he said it was the hardest pitch of his life. He said it was the hardest pitch of his life, going in and telling the board members that they were going to do the longest advert they've ever done, so costing the most, with the highest budget request, and not feature the product once. And this was back in 2007. This advert went on to be voted the most memorable campaign 3 years in a row. But even more so for the budget holders in the room, or the people you've got to convince, it increased sales for Cadbury by 10%, this one advert. So you can understand he's like put his feet up, he's kind of laughing and going, told you so, afterwards, because the ROI is there and it proves itself. But why is it so effective? How can a video create such a memorable impact on me in 2007 when we're going into 2025? Because it evokes emotion, it evokes feeling, and it brings connection to the brand. And video is the most powerful tool to do that and to produce that memory recall. And there's another example from this year. Don't know if it's going to let me click through now. Ooh. There we go. This was produced this year. And I don't know if anyone remembers it or recognizes it, but it was a phenomenal campaign on World Down Syndrome Day. And if we could just play this for like 20 seconds for those who haven't seen
bartender, you assume that I cannot drink a margarita. So you don't serve me a margarita? So I don't drink a margarita. Your assumption becomes reality. And parents, you assume that I cannot live on my own. So you don't encourage me to live on my own. So I don't live on my own. Coach, you assume that I cannot hit harder. So you don't train me to hit harder. So I don't hit harder. And teacher, you assume that I cannot learn Shakespeare. So you don't teach me Shakespeare.
Old MacDonald had a farm.
So I don't learn Shakespeare. E-I-E-I-O. But hey, if all your assumptions become reality, then assume that I can drink a margarita. You serve me a margarita. So I drink a margarita. Assume that I can live on my own. So I
Cool. That was a campaign that I've remembered from this year, and I think it does the same thing. It evokes that incredible sense of emotion. And what does it make you want to do? It makes you want to tell someone about it, which is the instinct and the behavioral habit that video creates over any other form of content. And It seen it firsthand this year. I posted this incredible, also go and check it out. There's too many videos and campaigns that are so incredible on it was about men's mental health awareness on Mental Health Awareness Day. And it's a phenomenal concept and video campaign that thousands of people in the comments are saying that they cried when watching it. I was one of them. It was a phenomenal campaign. It brings a shock factor in the way that only video can do. And it was the shares that really stunned me on this. 15,000, if anyone uses LinkedIn, I don't know how many people have had a post that's been shared 15,000 times. It's completely unheard of. We work with Stephen Bartlett's LinkedIn, and we're not even getting those numbers, you know? But 15,000 people felt so compelled to share. And that's because video produces this incredible emotion that makes you want to tell people about it, and it brings that connection. And it makes your brand extremely, extremely memorable. I'm pretty sure I wasn't aware of Norwich Football Club before. I'm pretty sure 15,000 people on LinkedIn were not aware of Norwich Football Club before. And now that sticks in my mind, I think about this campaign all the time and every single day. They've created that sticky shareability with a video campaign that could have never been created with a static. And here are the stats. People retain 95% of a message when it's delivered in video format, compared to only 10% when reading it in text. So if you don't believe me, believe the stats, believe the research. Viewers are 12 times more likely to share video content on social media than text and images combined. Video ads have a 27.4 times higher click-through rate than static images, showing that they are more likely to engage users and prompt interaction. So if the videos didn't convince you, if the stats didn't, if hopefully the stats have convinced you that the emotional pull that builds brand loyalty, retention, community, engagement is second to none when it comes to video content. It's a lot. It's intense. I don't know what brands are ready for 15,000 people to be sharing their video campaign. I know that I spoke to the guy in the leadership at Norwich Football Club, and they were sold out for the rest of the season off the back of that. So, again, take it with heed, take it with the warnings, because you need to make sure your brand's set up and ready.
So in summary, the warnings we've given you are, you might reach too many people and go viral with your video content.
2, you might convert your audience into a sticky community who aren't going to leave you alone.
3, there may be too many experiments you can run, and you might be able to test too many things.
4, your data will be overflowing. My head in that GIF is exactly how I feel every time I have a meeting with Grace. Like, I have too much insight, too much data, and it's the best feeling in the world if you're ready for it.
And 5, your brand could become too memorable. As we know, brand loyalty and brand recall is super important, as we've experienced with those ads, and what actually makes your brand memorable. If you don't want to become memorable, that's okay.
We'll leave you to it. We have got time for any questions if people do have them. We've got about 5 minutes. And there are some roaming mics if anyone does want to ask us anything. If not, we're around afterwards.
Huh?
Oh, thank you. There's a question here, yeah.
Hi, thanks for the session. That was really, really helpful. I work for a B2B business, which has a really kind of senior, dare I say, older demographic. Do you think that user-generated content or similar kind of video content works in the same way for this, or would you do something slightly differently?
I mean, I think it's really important to understand who your audience is first and who your community is. So if you, I mean, also how old?
50s plus usually.
So there's a huge demographic of 50-plus-year-olds on Facebook, on YouTube, even on TikTok, on all these platforms. And they do exist and they do have presence in the podcasting world. They also
there are people in their 50s here as
well. Yeah, TV
adverts.
You know, there's so many different forms and formats that we can be testing. And 100%, if it makes sense for your product, try UGC. But there are, as we went through, maybe 30 different forms of formats of video to be trying. Test and try. Understand where they hang out, and this is a whole other marketing presentation. Find out where they hang out, where they're spending their time, how you can influence their day. Go to them, go to their platforms. So understand that level of depth and detail first. And then test like 5 different video formats and see what resonates. Like, video isn't, we talk about video as if it's like this new social concept, right? But video's been around for the longest time. People go to cinema, people watch TV, people consume video in all forms and content and mediums all the time. So there definitely will be a form of video that speaks to that demographic. And this might be controversial at a marketing expo, but like my take on B2B and B2C and D2C is it's always human to human. So you're always trying to reach a human to convince them of something. So I actually don't think that terminology is hugely helpful, but I'm going to get answered.
I was about to say that is just because they may be thought of as old, sorry, they actually have the same emotions as us. They laugh at the same things. It doesn't matter. Me and my mum laugh at the same things, and she's 32 years older than me. So I think it's understanding it's not about, oh, they might not like UGC content. It's how do you create UGC content
for them,
for all different generations. Like a 10-year-old isn't going to like the same thing that I like, but that's okay. We actually need to market to them differently. But I think UGC is still applicable across the board. Well, I'm sure there's people here today who may be in that age bracket, but I'm not assuming, may actually consume UGC content and still enjoy it.
Just make the subtitles a bit bigger.
What did you say? Get the mic.
Just make the subtitles a bit bigger. My mum says that all the time as well.
Thank you.
Any more? There's one here.
Thank you both. Just on subtitles, actually, and about making content, especially video content, accessible to everybody. Do you have any comments on making sure that content is inclusive? Because I think that's important for brands.
Yeah, there's loads of features within apps now that I think are absolutely critical to ensuring accessibility, because ultimately, of course, you want to make your content accessible for all different types of people, but Also, as a brand, you want to reach as many people as possible. Why would you shoot yourself in the foot by not being visible to as many different demographics, audiences, types of people as possible? So there's alt text that you can use for every single video on every single platform. Alt text is where you can get a description of what they're watching in case you might not be able to view the video yourself. But there's loads of other features, and I think even just something as simple as turning the captions on if you're not adding captions yourself, subtitles yourself. LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube all now has a function where you can switch on and check box, add subtitles. You don't have to do anything. It just means more people are going to be able to consume it. And the likelihood is they're probably watching with the sound off anyway. So you're reducing your chances of being seen significantly if you don't just flick on that subtitle option. I mean, I would suggest adding them yourself. They help for SEO, they help for keyword search, they help for discoverability. But if you don't have the resources, you don't have the capacity, switch on that. Get your alt text up to date. And then there are loads more features within the specific apps that you can definitely try out. They're in there.
Any others, or yeah? Sorry. Oh, there's one.
That was good, thank you. So I run a channel, so I'm a creator, and it's called Plant CEO, and I basically interview leaders from the plant-based committee. I've met Stephen, by the way, I think it was before Stephen, just a live show. What's your advice to smaller creators to help them grow their audience?
Do you want to go, or do you want me?
Go
I
on.
have so many.
Yeah.
It is, not to say it because it's my role, but it is experimentation, I think, is a huge part of it. So it's trialing different things and being able to take it and look at those analytics and say what is working and what isn't. And I know that can be sound daunting, but even if it's 30 minutes a week and you go, what am I going to look at into the platforms? So if you're on, is it YouTube?
Yeah, mainly YouTube, but
Yeah.
what I find is it's quite hard to find the audience, so you can see things like, country, location, or gender, but that's as far as it goes. I don't get any other insights from YouTube unless you've seen it somewhere.
You should have, I think everyone has access to the advanced analytics on YouTube, which is if you go into the specific video, you can actually click through and see how are people getting to your video. So what are they searching to find it?
Okay,
so you can even go within sources. If you have to check, maybe you can add
Yeah,
me on
we'll
LinkedIn and
talk
I'll
after,
show you. But you can
Yeah.
really go in and see. So when it comes from search, like for us, we can see people are searching the Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. We can really delve in. So
Right.
you might be able to see how people are finding you.
Yeah.
But then it goes into all the experimenting of testing different thumbnails, titles. So you might change a title and see a spike in that video being revived in the algorithm. So it's really like the test and learn. But I'm sure Grace has some other bits to say.
I mean, the most simple growth formula in content is consistent experimentation. Like, there's no hacks, there's no overnight success story, there's no anything that's led to incredible growth that hasn't applied that same formula. If you look at the Diary of a CEO growth graph, it's flat, 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 flat spikes.
Yeah.
No one talks about that flat bit. No one talks about the 2 years where we were doing a couple thousand views a month. We had 5,000, 6,000 subscribers. Everyone talks about how we've now reached tens of millions a week, how we have an audience size of over 15 million, all of these crazy statistics. But no one wants to talk about the 2.5 years that we were grinding every day, trialing everything from as the color of the thumbnail, the way we introduce the guest, the millions of different tweaks and tests we've run to find what works for us and our audience. No one sees the videos that got 100 views because they're deleted. No one sees all of that, but that is how every success story looks. Compounding consistency of experimentation over a long period of time. There's no hacks, there's no shortcuts. It's just consistently experimenting with all the formats and resources that you have available, which is so great in video. We're obviously biased, we do a lot of video content, but there is no format that will get you to your results quicker than video. Pick your platform, be consistent. Every single day, post something, test one thing. You will unlock incredible results. I mean, we're going again, we're building, not to pitch here, but we're building new podcasts. We're starting from scratch. We're going through that process. We started from scratch last week with a brand new podcast, and within 24 hours, we'd reached the #1 on Spotify, #1 on Apple. We've reached 3 million people through social media, and we grew to 10K subs on all platforms within 2 days.
What was that?
The podcast is called We Need to Talk with Paul Brunson. But it's our first podcast that we produced, and we were putting into practice all of the learnings we've built over years and years and years to prove that we can do it again. And there's no hacks. There's honestly there are a million courses that are going to tell you, and they're going to cost you $5,000 to tell you the hacks to grow something quickly. The only hack to long-term growth on social media and content is consistent experimentation.
Thank you.
Any others before we get kicked off the stage? No? Oh, yeah.
Last one.
So I work for a company that sells the chemical coating for heavy industry. Do you think doing videos will be beneficial for us?
Who's your market? Is it
So we are
B2B?
B2B based.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen all the TikTok trends recently with the likes of Wix and the car showrooms, where they've created a trend where they're all more traditional companies that wouldn't lean into a more social-first strategy traditionally, and they've all got on board with this. My Gen Z social media manager edited this video, or my Gen Z social media manager wrote this script for me, and they're using all the TikTok terminology. You've got like a older gentleman being like slay, and I don't even know the terms. But there's always opportunities where it makes sense for your brand to use video. I can't think of a single. We work across all the Dragon's Den businesses. We consult across all sorts of different companies and businesses, small startups, large companies within the fund, our own brands starting from the scratch, but also one that reaches millions and millions of people, different genres, different audiences, different target audiences. There's never a use case that I can think of where video can't enhance a strategy. And it doesn't need to be jumping on TikTok trends. It can just be, okay, the way we're going to talk to our customers this week in our email newsletter, we're going to incorporate video, because video has been proven to increase open rate and click-through rate in newsletters, because it increases everything, because it's so much more engaging. So there's so much opportunity for every single brand to find a format that works for you on a platform that makes sense for your community, and test and learn there.
Yeah. I think it's also, how do you expect other businesses to find you if you aren't posting online? Because most people, not going to assume all, would go online to find another business. If we wanted an email marketing agency, we might go online to find who are the best email marketing agencies. We're probably not going to go out and look for flyers around. So it's having that online presence. It doesn't have to be that you need to do huge campaigns all the time, but being able to have an online presence through video content and posting online would be super useful for when you're ranking. And so on Google, SEO, when you're ranking there, if you had a video that's gone viral, you might rank higher because of your brand's on that. So really being able to reach those audiences through doing that.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to get kicked off now. Thank you,
so
everyone.
much.